We are filled with great joy this morning as we celebrate the octave of Easter, the great Easter time, 50 days of Easter, 50 days of celebration, celebrating the key to our faith, the basis of our Christian Catholic faith, Jesus Christ, risen from the dead. Now we know that some people might try to deny the resurrection. And we see today in the gospel how these soldiers were told to make up a lie, to say that it didn't happen. But even in their lie, there's inconsistencies, because they're to say, his disciples came and stole the body while we were asleep. Well, if they're asleep, how do they know who came to take the body? It's a lie. But some people believed it. Some people think, it's just a story, the resurrection, but it really isn't. It's true. If we think about it, there was never found the dead body of Jesus or his bones, never report of that. Many people saw him. We get testimonies to that. St. Paul tells us how many people saw him, and they were still living in his time. So he was seen after the resurrection by a number of people. And people gave their lives for him. The apostles, the disciples, they gave up many things. They even gave up their lives, dying, many of them martyrs' death, for the cause of Jesus risen from the dead. They wouldn't have done that for a lie. He truly has risen. And for that, we are just so happy. It gives us great joy, great hope to celebrate the resurrection. We see in the resurrection accounts, as in the gospel today, that when Jesus does appear to someone, they are called to be witnesses, to tell others of their faith, their experience of Christ. Now, maybe you, during this Holy Week or yesterday, you had a sense of God's presence in your life. Maybe you sensed that you were touched by God. Maybe you had a good confession during the Holy Week, and God has touched your heart, given you peace. Well, we are all witnesses of God's presence in our world. And like Mary Magdalene and the others who met Jesus risen, we too must go and bear witness, tell others of the great love that God has for us, the great mercy, the great joy that Christ is indeed risen from the dead. Pope Francis has called us to this Jubilee of mercy. And in my parish, we talked about the Triduum of mercy and looking at God's mercy in each of the events of the Holy Triduum. The greatest mercy, I think, that God shows us is the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Because as human people, we fear death, and we have sadness when loved ones die, or we know that someone is dying, or maybe that we are. And that gives us fear, insecurity. But yet, because of the resurrection, we know that life will not be ended. It will be changed. Because of the resurrection of Jesus Christ, we live with great hope and confidence. Confidence in this God who has victory over all the powers of evil, over the power of death, and even as we see in our world today, so much hatred and violence, we know that ultimately God will have the victory. And we cannot let the evil things overwhelm our hearts, our fear, our tendency toward maybe even hatred when we hear of such awful things. We are called to be people of the light, people who trust in a risen God, people who share that positive outlook, that hope that God gives us. So may these Easter days bring you great happiness, great consolation, great joy. Amen.